Good morning again, or good afternoon now. It is now March 24th. It is 12:18 p.m. I am going to record section 1.6 problem G. Let's see how this problem goes here. So it's given to us. They tell us that line GC is parallel to line PS, and that's indicated by the double hash marks that we have here and here. That's line GC and line PS. And then we have line GS is also parallel to line CP. And then that's indicated. Let me see if I can erase this here, because this shouldn't be here. There you go. And that's indicated by the one arrow that we have on both of those lines. So they told us that which two sets of lines are parallel to each other. Now remember, we talked about this before, that whenever you're given parallel lines, you want to start bringing into play the 6 angles that we looked at before we got into triangle congruency. So we have the 4 congruent angles, which are alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, and vertical angles. All of those those 4 are corresponding. And the 2 supplementary angles, we're looking at adjacent angles and same side interior angles. So you got to see which of those 6 you can start trying to visualize while you have this diagram in front of you. So let's just start right away. We see that line GC is parallel to line PS, and they give you that. Of course, it's given, but because now you want to start seeing, and we can already kind of look at this and tell that we're not looking at supplementary angles. We don't really have a diagram set up for that. So you want to get into your mind the 4 congruent angles. Which ones can we look at from here? So since they've told us that, I see that GC and PS, that's going to be the ones that have the double arrows on them. And I see that I have my transversal right here, which is SC. So looking at that one, looking at this parallel line here and line PS here, I can already tell that I'm going to have an angle here and an angle here. But let's do this. Sometimes that can be confusing when you have the whole diagram in front of you. So let's just go ahead and draw the top line of GC. So this is going to be G, this is going to be C. We can draw the bottom line right here of S and of P. And then now let's just draw the transversal here. And that's going to be, oh, we already have CS. So now if you take off the other set of parallel lines you don't need right now for this one particular part, we kind of didn't include GS, didn't include CP. We don't need it right for this example. You can look at this and you can tell right away that you have a transversal, you have a set of parallel lines. So I can already see that I have an angle here, that I have an angle here, right? So they're opposite sides of the transversal inside the parallel lines. That means you have alternate interior angles. So let's go ahead and write those 2 angles out. So we're saying here that we have GCS, that's the top one right here. So this top one right here, that is angle GCS. So we're going to say that angle GCS is congruent to this one right here is going to be PSC. This one right here is PSC. So it's congruent to angle PSC. And we talked about this a minute ago. Those are inside the parallel lines, but opposite sides of the transversal. So we have alternate interior angles. So we're going to put alternate interior angles are congruent. Now for number 3, let's look at the other set of parallel lines. So now we're going to use line GS is parallel to line CP. So what we did here, we went on ahead and broke apart the diagram for this one to make that a little simpler to understand. This is given. So now for part 4, let's do the same exact thing again. So now let's take it over here, but now we want to go ahead and draw the other 2 parallel lines that we need. So now this one right here is going to be GS. This one right here is going to be CP. And then we have the same transversal of SC. And if we look at this, we can already see here that it's the same sort of setup as the other parallel lines up here, but now it looks a little bit different. So now we can say that, right, I'll do it in a different color. I'll do it in blue. So we have an angle here and an angle there. So now looking at this one here, we can name these angles, right? This angle right over here, we can name this one. That one can be GSC. So we're going to say that angle GSC is congruent to angle. This one right here, we can go ahead and call that one right here PCS. Is congruent to angle PCS. Remember now that that middle letter here is where the angle has to come out of. So the angle has to come out of your middle letter. If we look at both of our diagrams, that's where we have our, even the one up at the top up here, we have our angles. I don't want to do that one. That was green. Our angles are coming out of the middle letter that we've denoted out of our three letters that we're using for our angles. And then we know that's going to be congruent as the same before, because that was an alternate interior angles are congruent. So now we use this diagram to make sense of this one. So now we have alternate interior angles are congruent. So then now we have two sets of angles. So we have the angle that we just did up here prior to step 2. Now we have another set of angles that we found over here. So oh, that's not dark enough. Let's go here. But now let's make it purple. Needs to be a little bit. So we got 2 hash marks here. And we're going to have 2 hash marks here. So we're going to have the black angles are congruent to each other. So I'll put the purple ones here. So the purple angles are congruent to each other. And then now we also have the black angles are congruent to each other. So now we're missing something. And this is where the 5th step comes in. So now for step 5, I should have drew more lines. For step 5 now we're missing something. We know we don't have angle as a triangle postulate. We do have a couple of options here. We know we can't have side. We don't even have a side yet. We only have 2 angles here. But I can look at that transversal, right? If I were to split those 2 triangles apart, so now I'm looking for the 5th one here. If I were to split these 2 triangles apart, let's go. Let me see if I can draw this as neat as possible. This has been kind of hard to do here. We have this. We have. Oh, that came out pretty. And then now, let me see if I have this, and then this, and this. Okay, that was nice. So we have a G, S, S, C, P, and this is C. So we see, right, CS is going to be the same in both triangles. That means that line is going to be congruent to itself. So we have what we call reflexive here. So we can say that line SC, so we can say that segment SC is congruent to segment SC, and this is because of reflexive property. And so now if we go back up here to the diagram, we can denote that one right here, and this is the side that we need. So if we're looking at each individual triangle, right? So now let's do it like this. That's a little bit smaller than I want it to be, though. It won't be that small. So I know we're going to have one more line here. This is going to be line 6. And then now what we see, if we break apart these triangles here, I can see that the purple angle is here on that triangle, and it's here on this triangle. The black angle is going to be here on this triangle and here on this one. So we can look at this already. We can see that we have an angle that are the same, they're congruent on both triangles, side congruent on both triangles, angle congruent on both triangles. So now we can get back to completing this proof, and we can say that I didn't mean to put an A, I meant to put a triangle there. So triangle GCS is congruent to triangle PSC, and this is due to, we already said it here, angle, side, angle. So I hope that the demonstration made sense, how for step 2 we kind of broke apart the diagram and didn't include the parallel lines of GS and CP because we didn't need it right for that particular moment. Then for step 4, we kind of didn't include GC and SP. So it helps to kind of take these diagrams and break them apart so you can see exactly what you're looking for. And then down here, we went ahead and used this diagram for step 5 and 6 at the bottom to be able to show us how we have reflexive lines there to make it ASA, and then how we can break apart the triangles to show how angle, side, angle works for this particular postulate here. I hope this made a little bit of some sense. If not, just please email me and let me know how I can make add a little more clarity if need be.